Today on the Rockabilly Arts, we're going to give some hopefully helpful tips on how to buy a car. So, slightly different video than we normally do, right? So I'm not building anything, I'm not working on any cars or anything, but I did buy a car last week or the week before, something like that, and I traded in one. I'm going to do a video on the new car here soon, but I had a chance to kind of think about the experience and how, some of the good, some of the bad, and I wanted to share some of that with you guys. So buying a car from a dealership can very well be like getting unplanned dental work. You kind of forget about how miserable it was when you're driving down the road, windows down, having a good time, and then the next time you go buy a car, you remember just how awful the experience was. I've had good experiences, I've had bad experiences, so take all that with a grain of salt. But hopefully some of this will help you save some money. Also, quick little disclaimer. One, I'm not being paid for any of this by anybody, so any of the companies I recommend throughout the process are not sponsoring this ad. Second, I don't hate the industry as a whole. My dad was in the car business. I grew up around the car business. It's just the car business, right? And people are just trying to make money. They're a business just like anybody else. They're trying to get the most money out of you for their least amount of money out the door. And you are trying to get the most money for your dollar as well. It all works out in the end. Some bonus tips before we even get started. The first one being, take a friend. And take a friend that is mechanically inclined if you can, but otherwise just take a friend. And you have to be able to listen to that friend. If you don't, then there's really no point in taking them. I've screwed this up many times. I am notoriously amongst my circle kind of impulsive, and more than once I have either bought a car that I shouldn't have bought. No, that's not true. I did buy a car that I shouldn't have bought multiple times because I didn't listen to my friends. Sorry, Tim, about that. That was totally my bad. Another helpful thing, eat before you go. You're going to be there all day. If you think, I'm just going to run in, hand them a check, they're giving me my keys, and I'm out of here, you're probably mistaken. Historically, for me anyway, even when I have financing already arranged, it is a 5-hour endeavor. Now, part of that time is spent negotiating, right? So it's not just, it takes a long time, but it's a multi-hour event, and you don't want to be hangry going into this situation. The most important part, do not be afraid to walk away. If the deal is not what you want, and if the car is not what you want, leave. Unless it is just this super rare, super unicorn optioned automobile, get away. You don't have to take the deal that they give you. So be prepared to walk away. This is a common theme throughout this, is that is your trump card of all trump cards. You can just say, I'm done, I'm not buying this car, have a good night. The first tip is timing. Yes, timing is very, very important when buying a car. Think of it this way. Car dealerships and salespeople are judged on a quota system. They get paid based on the number of cars that they sell plus a percentage, right? In other dealerships, it may be a little different, but for the most part, it is dealership has to sell so many cars a month, and they have to have a certain number of loan originations. So if you go on basically the very last weekday of the month, weekday being a key word here, then you stand a much better chance of negotiating and getting a really good deal on the car. So go on the last weekday of the month. Number 2, research. Know what you want before you get there and know what your car is worth. So go ahead and pick out a car. So you've narrowed it down to, I want a mid-sized SUV or something like that. Go and do, just a little bit of research. There's so many good resources out there for, like on Edmunds and stuff like that, Car and Driver, blah, 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 to figure out what you want. Narrow it down to, a family of car or a brand of car, something reliable if that's what you're looking for, the most performance or the most ground clearance or whatever it is that you're looking for. Narrow that down. Find out what the general price is. Go look it up on a couple of different sites, figure out what they're worth, and then figure out how much your car is worth. So go get your Kelley Blue Book, the KBB.com, or your NADA, or better yet, do both, so that when you're walking into the dealership, you have knowledge on your side, and knowledge is power. I know I just mentioned this, but number 3, know what you want. All right, so you've picked out an SUV, you know the brand, you know the model, but you need to know what options are important. You need to know these are my must-haves and these are nice-to-haves. And then maybe there's a deal breaker in there as well, right? So for me, I would never buy a convertible. So that would be a deal breaker right off the rip. But my must-haves is a completely different list, right? The car I just traded in had heated and cooled seats. The next car I got, I found a couple, but they didn't have heated and cooled seats. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but kind of once you get used to it, it's so choice. Know what you have to have. Do you need to have power windows, power door locks, air conditioning, radio, 650 horsepower, whatever. So know what you want before you go shopping. Now, the nice part is that once you've caught those things that are important to you, then anything else above that is just gravy. And when you're negotiating, you can also use that because you can say, look, I came in here to make sure that it had these things. This car has a few extra things on it, but that's not important to me, so this is what I'm going to give you for it. It does help, trust me. Number 4, know what you can afford. This, again, has bit me in the butt more than once. And because you get excited and the moment is upon you and you're like, yes, I'm finally getting this car and it's going to be awesome. And then, that next month the payment comes and you're SOL. Not quite. But so let's say, you figure out your budget. I can afford $400 a month car. I'm just picking a number at random. I can afford a $400 a month car. So you go, you finance, blah, blah, get all that figured out, and it comes out to $400 a month. There's a certain thing you have to keep in mind too, is that there's a cost of upkeep on cars, right? So let's say that you're driving a lot, or let's say you buy a little commuter car. I once made a terrible mistake and I bought a Corolla because we were driving so much that it was cheaper for me to get a different car, a second car that I could commute to work in, because my commute's 48 miles one way. At the time I was driving a car that got like 14 miles to the gallon, and I had to put premium in it. So buying a Corolla that got 38 miles to the gallon with manual windows and manual door locks and all that stuff made a lot more sense. But because I drove so much in this car, I had to put tires on it about once a year. I mean, I was getting some pretty decent mileage out of it, maybe more than once a year, or maybe longer than that. But for argument's sake, let's say that you're having to spend $1,200 a year on tires. I'm just, again, picking numbers at random. If you amortize that cost, if you figure out that ends up costing you $100 a month. So if you can afford $400 for your car, then your car note should probably not be more than about $270, or $290, so that you can add that $100, and then your oil changes every 6 weeks or every 3 months, depending on how much you drive. If you're going through a set of tires in a year, you're probably doing an oil change every 6 weeks. So that is what you can afford. Also, when thinking about the purchase price of the car, in Georgia, I don't know what it is in other states. I usually only buy cars in Georgia, and if I buy them from out of Georgia, I'm just paying cash. Georgia, now you pay all of your tag stuff up front. So you've got your tax, tag, title, fees that go on top of it. So let's say that you're approved for $30,000. Don't go buy a $30,000 car. That sounds ridiculous, but think about it this way. You may be adding $3,000 worth of tax, tag, and title at the end of that. So really, you should be looking for like a $26,000 or $27,000 car if that is the upper end of your budget. Number 5, arrange financing before you get there. Go to your bank, go to your credit union, figure out the financing. This is what I can afford. This is about what the cars are costing that I'm looking at. And if your bank or your credit union, I use a credit union, they've been fantastic, but I will use the term bank and credit union interchangeably. They say, okay, well, this is, you want your payments to be here, so don't spend any more than this. Go find a car with this many miles on it if you want to buy a used one for this much sticker. And then you can go shopping because you have your financing arranged. But don't tell anybody you have your financing arranged. When you get to the dealership, don't let that be the first thing that comes out of your mouth. When you say, oh, I'm looking to buy this car. Look, I have money. You snap the check in front of them. No, you lose all negotiation power. Not all of it, but you lose a lot of negotiation power when you do that. All right, and this isn't really a tip so much, so it doesn't count. So I'm just giving those first 5. Know a thing or two about the car that you're trying to buy before you get there, right? Like, so if you're, know the models, so let's say, it's a GT or an RS or an SE or an SS or a Z06 or whatever thing that you're trying to buy, know a little bit about it before you get there, because they can tell you all you want, but if you know for a fact that, like, okay, well, this model has this much power, but this model has this much power, or this one, has the better brakes on it because it's the, off-road edition, or the SE, or the, Xterra, whatever, then that will really help you too, because, you may get all the features that you wanted, but then you don't think about the things that you thought were standard on the car, that they only put in this model up, right? So know a little bit about the car. Bonus tip. Now we're ready to go find a car. The internet, wonderful place, especially if you want to find videos of dogs not eating pickles. or limes or whatever. The internet's a wonderful place, but it's also great for car people because you can find the car that you want, generally in the price that you want, just by doing a little bit of research and spending a little bit of quality time trying to figure these things out. I personally, like when I'm shopping for a car, I'm religious about my research. I go and I find dozens of examples of it. I find the retail market on it. I do a KBB on it. But I find the dealerships that have what I want, or at least some semblance of what I want, before I even start talking to anybody. I don't send a inquire about this car until I'm ready to pull the trigger the day before, right? And then I call the bank, blah, blah, blah. Now we're ready to step into the belly of the beast. We're walking on the dealership floor. You got your money, you got your research, you are ready to go. Let's do this, right? So you're standing there, you walk up. Now me, I do this kind of fun thing, but it's kind of accidental. It just seems to have worked out this way. But I tend to show up at a dealership looking as scrub as humanly possible. Just like a shirt from a race or something like that, or a band shirt and shorts and, shoes, whatever. But I don't go in there looking like I'm, ready to do like battle of the finance. Because to me, it also says something about the caliber of the dealership, right? I know what I can afford. I know what I can get. And it is fun to me to watch salespeople avoid me when I look like crap. Some of the best car experiences I've ever had, like when I bought an Infiniti G37S, and I looked as rough as I ever look. I pulled up at a piece of crap Corolla, and they treated me like royalty right off the rip. Before they ran my credit, before they figured out anything about me, they treated me with absolute respect. And so for me, that was a way I could judge the caliber of what's going on. And why does that matter at all? Because if you walk in there and they just start salivating over the fact they're going to sell you whatever, you're going to lose a bit of that negotiation tool, right? You want all of this plays against the fact that you were trying to buy a car for the least amount of money, and they're trying to sell you a car for the most amount of money. So you want every advantage that you can. So if I've just been avoided by all the salespeople until I get to old Gil that hasn't sold anything this month and he's just reeking of desperation, then that's the guy I want, because I want the crap salesperson. The last car I bought, I actually had a really good salesperson. She was great. But I've also had people that just didn't know cars at all, and it was just, for lack of a better term, just able to steamroll over them and get what I wanted out of it. All right, the salesperson themselves, they are going to be super friendly, right? It's their job. So you've had somebody finally approach you, whether you look great or not. Somebody's finally come to you and said, "Hey, can I help you? Hi, I'm so-and-so. And flashy, a lot of smokers too in the car industry. I'm not really sure why that is. They'll come up to you, they're gonna ask your name, what you're looking for, and then they will continue to refer to you by your name. And they're gonna want to know about your kids if you have kids, or they're gonna want to know what your hobbies are, what part of town you live in. What they're doing is they're endearing themselves to you, because if you feel like they are there for you, then you're more likely to listen to them when they try and pass over some BS. It's fine. I mean, they're not terrible people. They're not, out here, doing terrible things. They're just trying to make a living. But you're also trying to get out of there for, again, the least amount of money that you can. So you're not going to be in this person's wedding, right? After today, you're probably never going to see this person again in your life. It does not matter if they like you, right? Be friendly. There's no reason to be a dick, but still, just be nice to this person. But they are going to definitely try and get you on their side to make you feel like they are your advocate. They are not your advocate. They are the sales team for a dealership. Their primary job is to make money for the dealership, which then makes them money. They're going to shepherd you through the process, but they are not your advocate. Your friend over here, your mechanic buddy, is going to be your advocate through this whole process. Explain to them what you want. Give your minimum options. If color of the car isn't really all that important, then that gives you a lot more options. And then let them dig in their inventory and come up with what they can. Get them to give you a few examples though, right? So all right, well, I want one that has, power windows, power door locks, power mirrors, blah, blah, blah. And, they bring out a car that you already know is over optioned, right? It's beyond what you're willing to pay for. Send it back. Tell them, go get another one. There's no harm in any of this stuff. And as they're bringing cars to you, remember, don't be afraid to send it back, and do not tell them that you already have financing. Like I mentioned earlier, dealerships get credit for new loan origination, and if you lead them on a little bit, use weasel words if you have to, or don't actually tell them that you're, I'm not going to get your financing because I have it. then that gives you a better room for negotiation, because when you sit down with the finance manager and you start going over paperwork and stuff like that, you can just hammer them at every step of the way because they think they're going to get extra points because they're getting, that loan origination. I am a little strange when it comes to buying cars. I don't like driving them before I start negotiating. Most cars, car's a car. I'm not buying anything from a dealership that is probably more than 2 or 3 years old anyway. So, as long as it's not smoking when they pull it up, it's fine. I'll give it a quick cursory glance over the car to make sure that it's, in good shape, but I don't need to drive it yet. And the reason for that is I know what I'm looking for. I know I know the model, I know what I want. So I will drive it before I start financing, but I'm going to do all my negotiation ahead of time. What they're trying to do when they get you to drive the car, the faster they can get you in that car, the faster that you're going to fall in love with it, the better it is for them, because it's really hard to walk away from a deal once you've started to envision yourself driving around in this car. So a good salesperson will be like, well, let me get the keys. Or, if it's a slightly more expensive car, they'll go ahead and start some paperwork and then they'll get the keys and you guys will go for a ride. Again, they're trying to get you to fall in love with the car. This has happened to me many times. I'm absolutely guilty of this multiple times. Like an idiot, but I've learned slightly. Now you've gone to the dealership, you've picked out a car and the options that you want, and now the fun part. At least I think it's fun because I like negotiating, but this is the part that everybody hates, right? Like up until now, we're just, oh, look at this car, it's cool, it's fun, but now there's paperwork, now there's people involved, now there's some old dude coming out with, the pepper gray hair and an impossibly white smile to try and make sure that you've got your financing lined up. Now we start negotiating. Quick little side note, within 2 days of each other, I had 2 different dealerships do the same thing to me. And it was so utterly dishonest. I couldn't believe my eyes, right? So I was looking at a car and they printed out the sheet, with this is your estimated payment thing on it, right? And then it had, oh, here's the discounts on this car, and here's your, loyalty rebate, and this is what we're gonna give you for your car. Here's your tax tag and title, delivery fee, and then this is the final price, and this is your payment. I went in there and I said, look, if you can get me in that car for what I'm paying for that one, or within a certain amount of money, I'll buy it. Well, the number that they showed me, the monthly payment, was well exceeding that amount. And I was like, oh, try again. And so they came back with another time with a sheet of paper. They got the number down a little bit because they got the credit rating a little better, and they got the finance charges a little better, but it was still off. So then they come over a third time, but this time they're like, oh, we made a mistake. We put the wrong VIN on here. The base price of the first car, of the car, was different. But look, it only brought the payment up like $50. And which is, it's only $50 more than the other one. Somehow forgetting, or maybe assuming, that I don't know how to do basic math. I was like, well, this one is this much more, and this one is this much more again, so this is now half again, as much as I said I wanted to pay. And it was just so shady. I just couldn't believe that they did it. But then it happened again, 2 days later at a different dealership. Same exact situation. So be aware of that. That was the shadiest thing I'd seen in a minute. Now, why would they do that? Because if you think about it, when they said, oh, well, it's only $50 more than this other one, that's like saying something's $19.95 instead of $20. It's 5 cents, right? But in your head, oh, it's only $19. No, it's 20. It's a rounding error at that point. So you're sitting down at the table. They've presented you with a series of numbers. Okay, the first number they're going to tell you is this is the cost of the car. Then the second number, if it's a new car or if it's a used car, this depends a little bit. But there's usually some kind of rebate or there's some kind of incentive that they may put on there. And then the dealership may have another little incentive that they can give you. If you're buying, if you're trading from one model of something to the next model of something within the same family, there might even be some loyalty cash on it. Then it gets to the trade-in value of your car. This is miserable. This is a fun but terrible part of this whole experience. So dealership 1 the other day was going to give me a really strong amount of money for my car. It was basically payoff. The car was well optioned and it was absolutely worth every penny. I knew what it was worth because I did the KBB and NADA thing. And so they were trying so hard to get me in this other car that they were willing to give me full payoff on my car plus. The second dealership came in and they basically negged me. Right? So they came in with the idea, and this is a classic technique. It's garbage as far as humanity goes, but it is a classic technique. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make you feel bad about the quality of the car, right? Because, if you look at your NADA or your KBB and you see this is a trade-in value, this is your retail value, they're going to sell that car for the retail value of that, right? They're not going to come off of it much. So they have to get that car as cheap as possible in order to make that happen. So guy sits down, starts telling me about the, I've been appraising cars for blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care. I've been driving cars a long time. Who cares? And then he offers me some number that is literally 20% less than the dealership a day and a half or 2 days prior had offered me for my very well optioned, low mileage car. And I was appalled. I just laughed at the dude, really, and I was like, no, try again. And at this point, I told the sales girl when he had walked out, because she was great. She was great again. But I told her, I was like, watch what he's about to do. He's going to come back and he's going to tell me everything in the world that's wrong with his car, and he's going to have to take money off for each step of the process. So he comes back and he did exactly that. They were able to bring the value up a little bit, but I got to put tires on it, and the steering wheel's got some wear, and it's like, it's a good car. It's a really nice car, but the shifter is going to get soft because it's got 44,000 miles on it. At which point, I'm like, dude, look, I don't care what you give me for the car. You're either going to give me more money for the car, or you're going to take money off the car I'm buying, or I'm leaving. It's not like I pulled up here in some car I dislike. I love that car. I just happen to like this new one better. So you got to do better. We went back and forth like 4 times before they got to a number I wanted, which is ultimately what it's about, right? Trying to get you for the most amount that you can, and you're trying to get it for the cheapest that you can. Keep that in your head, and never be afraid to walk away halfway through. Also, if it's a new car, they may have a destination fee on their delivery charge or an advertising fee or something like that. Most of the time you can get that waived. If it's a used car and you see either of those 2 things on them, give them the finger, because it's just dishonest, right? Again, they're just trying to make a little bit of money on it. They're getting rebates from the company, that they're selling cars for. So if it's a Toyota or a GM or a Honda or whatever, they're going to get kickbacks on advertising. So they're just trying to double dip a little bit and, slip in $100 here or $1,000 here for a destination charge. Destination charges only apply on new cars unless it's an intra-dealer transfer, at which point you can just say, you moved the car yourself, I don't care, I could have gone to that dealership, whatever. Don't take that crap. And this, while you're doing this negotiation process too, this is a good time to ask for a Carfax if it's a used car, right? Like, you want them to, go run the report, see if it's ever been damaged, see what kind of recalls are on that car. Once you have your numbers, once the numbers are somewhere within line of what you expected, now you can reveal that you have outside financing, because they're just going to keep trying. They're thinking they're going to get a loan off of you, so they're able to drive the price down. And what I do, and your mileage may vary on this one, is we kept negotiating and they kept bringing about, this is what your monthly payment will be. I let them run my credit. I let them pitch a rate to me. The rate was crap, by the way. So the first number they gave me was absolute garbage, and then the second one had a half percentage, or actually it was 0.7 points off from what my bank was giving me. Just kept sending it back to keep working on the number. I knew I wasn't going to use it. I knew I was not going to use it, but I knew what my bank was going to charge me, so I was able to use that as a tool. So that's what I was using to get the price of the car down, get the cost of my trade-in up. And then, by them thinking they were going to be able to get this, they were able to go, I pulled some coupons, and I had this, available to me. If you do all of that, then you know what their bottom dollar is. You know what you can get them for on this car. And you have a piece of paper that shows this is what you're going to give me on trade, this is what the car costs, blah, 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 blah. Take a picture of it with your phone, so that if you do walk at this point, because they're just being A's to you, but take a picture of it. Use that at the next dealership, because they're going to come in, I can only give you this much for a car. It's like, really? Because this dude was going to give me this much for the exact same car 2 days ago. Absolutely helps. Now, I will say this. Now, I've been talking about don't finance from the dealership repeatedly through this. If they're offering you 0% interest on this, that's hard to beat. Unless your bank is willing to do that, and they're usually not, that is really tough to beat. So at that time, it is usually worth doing, if they can make it happen. But whatever happens, try not to buy it from the dealership. That's my personal opinion, but so far it has steered me right more times than not. So you're sitting there, you're ready to walk into the finance manager's office, and if you'll notice throughout this process, they've made you sit and wait repeatedly throughout the day. At no point did they just usher you through. It's like, I want to buy a car. Here's your car. Let me go take a look at it. Let me go and arrange financing for you. I don't like that number. Let me get you another number. You come back and forth until you're finally ready to leave with your car, because it has just taken no time whatsoever. That didn't happen that way. It was, let me talk to my manager. Walk back. They come back and forth. Why? Because they're making you sweat. They're making you impatient about this, because, if you love the car, the more you sit there, the more you think about it, the more you envision it as part of your life. So here you are, multiple hours in. Now time to go talk to the finance guys. When you sit down with the finance guys, They are then going to rehash all of the BS you've already been through, but again, to their favor, right? So they're going to try and sell you the car again that you're already committed to buying, but they're going to try and finance it because his entire job or her entire job is to originate new loans and get the car sold. Again, the other day when I was buying the car, they started talking about, okay, well, we're doing this one through so-and-so credit union. And it's like, well, that's not the credit union I use, dude. He goes, yeah, but we need to have a cashable invoice to let you leave with the car. You do want to leave with the car today, right? Of course I want to leave with the car, but like I'm also, I am impatient, but I'm not that impatient anymore. I was like, what are you talking about? My bank is literally waiting on me to come over there and pick up a check right now. I'm just waiting on you to give me a buyer's order. Oh, well, we can offer you this, blah, 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 blah. No, we've been through this. Like, here's the price on paper. You thought you were getting the loan. I was able to get the number down. I didn't tell them all this, but, my bank was 15 minutes up the street. Get in the car, go get it. Takes 10 minutes to sign all the paperwork for them. Back, check and lien release in my hand. They tried to sell me an extended warranty. I can get one through my bank. I've done it multiple times. The credit union has access to great extended warranties. Can take it to dealership still. They work out all the payment and stuff on the back end. I just like going through my bank. I really do. Because of that, And they tried to stall me, honestly, when buying the car, and that just really, really bugged me because they were saying that, oh, well, the bank is going to take forever to get us our money, or what you could do is let me go and finance it, and you can just finance it through your bank later. Trying to get that loan origination, right? They don't care if the loan is paid off tomorrow. They started the loan, they closed the loan got paid off. There you go. During this process too, during the negotiation process, if you're not getting the numbers that you want, but you're within a realm that you're comfortable with, you can ask for some add-ons. You can get some freebies in there. You can get them to throw in floor mats if it doesn't have floor mats. You can get them to wash the car for a year. You can say, look, I need you to throw me in 6 oil changes if you're not getting the maintenance plan with it. Do some intangible stuff that doesn't cost anything on top of the car that they are now committed to, and get it in writing. So there you go. I hope this was helpful. If I'll put some of the notes here in the footnotes. But the main takeaways: take a friend with you. Eat beforehand. Know what you're buying. Know what you want. Know what you can afford. Get the financing arranged before you step foot on the dealership floor. Negotiate. Walk away if necessary. But do not let them give you too little for your trade-in. Do not overpay for the car that you're buying. You can do this multiple times. Don't forget to factor in the fact that there's going to be tax tag title on this thing during the finance charge. Again, know what you can afford. Try not to let your eyes get bigger than your stomach on this one. These people are not bad people, but they're not your friend. They're not your they're not your advocate. That the person that you brought with you, that is your advocate. That is the person you need to listen to. Because I've done this repeatedly where I didn't. And I end up with huge pieces of crap or upside down on a terrible loan. Take your friend with you. And then if you can arrange financing through your bank, do so. If you want to get the extended warranty, and the extended warranty is usually a good idea, do that. But do it through your bank if you have the option to do so. Do not let them jerk you around on your car. Hopefully this helped. I know it's a little different than my normal videos, but it was fresh in my mind and I just want to get it out there for folks. So till we meet again, remember to drive fast, take chances, and safety third. Good night.